Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I'm VJ Bernard Husky, the Big Vanilla Funny, the Big Vanilla Sports Talk Poppy for Infanity TV and our Laker pregame show tonight. And boy, do we got an outstanding basketball game for you tonight as we come to you live from beautiful Crypto.com Arena in downtown LA as the visiting Golden State Warriors try to keep their 19-4 run going since they acquired Jimmy Butler at the trade deadline against the home LA Lakers that's just been cooking since they made their trade at the trade deadline for Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. Tonight's game has a lot loaded. Now, I normally would give you guys where one team is scoring or where one team is rebounding. That's not the gig tonight. Tonight, it's about the Western Conference. Between 3 to 8 is still all up for grabs with 7 games to go. And let's start with the Lakers. They have the Golden State Warriors in tonight, as I mentioned, since Jimmy Butler, 19-4. Then they have OKC 2 times on a Sunday and a Tuesday, back-to-back in OKC with another Rockets matchup here that they got last week, but they get them in here again to close out the season. The Rockets are now sitting in the 2nd seed in the Western Conference. As for the Golden State Warriors, they're only a half a game sitting at number 6 right now over the Minnesota Timberwolves that are 7. You know what that means? That means that's the play-in, so they want to avoid that tonight. They also have Houston, Denver, Minnesota, and OKC still left on their schedule. So everybody between 3 and 8 is going to all play each other. Some guys are playing each other twice. It's all in each of these teams' hands. And let's go back to the LA Lakers. Tonight, my man Austin Reeves. I've been so proud of this guy, man, as a guy covering the Lakers, reporting on him, talking to you guys here on the Fan TV about it, what he has done this year. 19-5-6 is what he's been as the so-called third option. You know me, I like a 1C or a 2B. There ain't no third option, brother. If you're just that good, then you're good as the 1 and the 2. But his involvement tonight on offense and defense and not turning the ball over and getting on the glass rebound is going to be key. Now, over to the Golden State Warriors tonight, the Muffs has Kuminga, Draymond Green, big guy tonight. He is now a -160 for Defensive Player of the Year. In February, he was a plus 5,000. That shows the defense that he is instilled in this team. Jimmy Butler brought that dog. Steph Curry just had 52 points with 12 three-pointers just a game ago against the Memphis Grizzlies that are also sitting there fighting in the Western Conference. My keys to the game, very quickly, rebounding, turnovers. Both those teams are between 10 and 13 in both those categories. That's the category tonight with all the stars, TNT, live on national TV, VJ Bernard Husky, Infanity TV for your Lakers pregame. The Golden State Warriors coming to town against the home LA Lakers. I'm going to go upstairs and get some grub and check this game out, and I'll see you all for the post game. VJ Bernard Husky, Infanity TV.
Hey, JJ, all 3 of the matchups with the Warriors were before Luka, or at least Luka didn't play the one game, and before Jimmy played for them. What carryover is there, and how kind of different do you see both teams since that time?
I think the identities of the teams are still very similar. Jimmy's obviously a fantastic player, as is Luka. For them, they're doing a lot of the same stuff. We got to be great with our off-ball discipline and Curry awareness, and it's hell trying to guard him. So, and then I talked about this after the 3rd time we played them, but there's a tendency, and I've seen it now for 10 years, 11 years. When he gets going, and frankly when he starts moving, there's an overreaction to that, and they get layups. And so, again, our discipline in the half court with our off-ball rules has to be really good. And like any opponent, we're the opponent tonight. He tests those rules every single night. He's one of one. And then the other part is, they were already a really good defensive team. Jimmy has just elevated that. You have 2 just elite defenders in Jimmy and Draymond, and they're even more disruptive. Both those guys are very, very intelligent defenders and make it hard on you.
I want to say that this was the first time since February that you guys had 2 days in a row without a game. Does that sound right to you?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, without March was. Yeah. How could you use that, and do you feel like that was that could be just beneficial mentally, physically?
Yeah, I think it was great to have a full day off without the consternation that comes with knowing there's a game the next day. There's a real effect to that on your mind and your body and your spirit. Just that living on edge. I think when you have 2 days in between, you can actually take a pause for a brief 12 hours while you're awake. We got a lot done yesterday. Feel good about what we were able to get accomplished. And I know it was a busy day for a lot of us with team photos and practice and UCLA hospital visit, and then the Lakers All Access last night, which some of us had to attend, myself included.
JJ, especially with the amount of small balls, not really guys aren't really that small. You still got like 6'8", 6'9" guys on the floor, but centerless lineups you guys have been playing. How have you seen the players, I guess, handle the physical toll that come with those lineups and the effort you guys have to put forward defensively to play on to the level that you went to on that end of the floor?
Yeah, I think it changes night to night based on the opponent. We played last week I told you guys this, the three fastest teams in the league in terms of their ability to cross half court and get into their first action. That up and down pace creates a toll. The physicality of Houston, slower pace game, but playing two bigs, Şengün, Adams, when they're on the court alone, Dylan Brooks, every game's a little different. I don't think the physicality and the wear and tear is going to change based on the lineup. I think whoever's out there, it requires a lot.
JJ, after the Chicago game at home, I know the road trip wasn't perfect in a lot of ways, but you guys were a pretty low turnover team on the trip. You were a low turnover again on Monday. What have you seen in terms of, I don't know if it's attention or, valuing the ball and valuing possessions with your group, I guess, over the last week or so?
I think we've been pretty good with our spacing. I'm trying to think of every single coverage we faced. I think Luka, LeBron, those guys have a lot of responsibility. AR as well, just being the primary decision makers and creators. And some of those turnovers were unforced. And again, just getting back into a rhythm, I think that plays into it. I think being able to limit our turnovers against a team like Houston is important going forward. And then we got to do it again tonight against a team who is number one in turnover percentage forced since the Jimmy Butler trade. So it's a big point of emphasis.
You've made the goal or stated the goal with us to be top six, and understandable the rest that comes with it, et cetera, avoid the play-in. But you guys have the third best home record in the entire league, and you have, I think, of the top 8 in the West, you're one of only 2 teams with sub 500 road records. So, I mean, how much is the additional carrot to want to be in the top 4 so you can start off with a home game to begin your postseason run?
Yeah, we would like to be in the top 4. We'd like to have home court. I think beyond just playing well at home, it would be nice for our guys to finish in Portland and then be able to be home for 9 or 10 days. I've played in Philly, I've played in Orlando, played for the Clippers. That was 13 of my 15 years in the NBA. Every year we had, 2 East Coast trips or 2 West Coast trips. We've had 5. We had 3 in the month of March. So I think just the travel and just being home, that to me is super important. And then we play well at home. So it'd be nice to get home court.
Coach, Luka is top 5 in the NBA in steals. What makes him so elite in that defensive category?
I think he's got great anticipation. When he we talk all the time about being disruptive, but being disruptive within our schemes. Some of the stuff we do is very similar to what he's done in Dallas the last few years. So I think he has a really good understanding of that. And with all the guys, we're trying to limit our gambling and just keep the ball in front of us and being solid and just relying on our team defense versus taking risks and then allowing a 4-on-3. So when we're able to just keep the basketball in front of us, we can be a really good defensive team, and then rely on. Braun had a great steal the other day in our post screen versus Şengün. Just like that's all part of our scheme. That's not a gamble. Luka is that X out guy, just reading when we have the low man pulled in. He's gotten a number of steals that way. So I think it's just the intelligence that he has and the feel he has.
JJ, number 3 to number 8 in the Western Conference, I think is separated by about 2.5 games or so. Just what do you make of how competitive the Western Conference is? Obviously, any run to get to the Western Conference Finals, but to have that many teams all in one place, you lose a couple in a row, you win a couple in a row, the changes that can make.
Yeah, I mean, you sense it and feel it every single day. Feels like, you kind of don't take a lot of stock in the first 8 games, 10 games, 50 games, or 15 games, and then all of a sudden you get to like mid-December, Christmas, and you start looking every day. I mean, and the fluctuations of one team gets hot, one team has a cold streak, you can drop pretty quickly. We knew coming into this year that it would be a challenge to make the playoffs in the West. We were picked 11th in the West, so it's not a surprise to see how many competitive teams there are. And frankly, Wemby and the Spurs were very competitive for a while. Portland's been awesome. They play super hard. So there's teams even outside of that top 10 that you have to be really dialed in for and play a good basketball game to win.
Hi, JJ. Trying to stay in a top 6, then LeBron, Steph tonight, and also we just have a few games left. How much more pressure that this game bring with it, and how much more do you feel like be prepared for tonight?
I think anytime you play a great basketball team and a great player, there's a heightened sense of urgency. I don't think there's any more pressure tonight than there was January 15th when we played Miami at home. I don't look at it that way, but certainly, it's not about getting up for games. I get up for every game. I did as a player. It's more just, you have to be at your best in order to beat the best, and Steph's one of the best, and this team right now is one of the best.
JJ, the net rating with LeBron, Luka, and Austin on has been negative up to this point, relatively small sample size, but you guys have won at basically the same rate in the games they've played in, and any other combination of the two-man or solo has been positive. What have you made of that kind of within the larger scope of the team success?
How many minutes do you know?
I don't know. I know it's 280 possessions. It's pretty small. 15 games.
Yeah. I don't make a ton of it. I don't think the expectation, at least internally for us, was, we're going to be the 2016-2017 Warriors or this year's Oklahoma City Thunder. We didn't expect that. So the disjointedness of an in-season trade is there almost every time. There's been 5 or 6 major all-star level players that have been traded that have had a championship level impact in the history of the modern NBA. So not surprised by that stat. Those guys, I think, are committed to making it work with each other when they're on the court, and they're committed to making it work when they're 2 of them are on the court or one of them's on the court. It's a work in progress. We all knew that was going to be the case.
Thanks, Coach.
JJ, after what seemed like a pretty good first 5-6 minutes in terms of shot quality, what did you see from kind of midway through the first through the rest of the half defensively, and how what your team was doing against it?
I thought our first shot defense was great throughout the first half. They had 7 offensive rebounds for 12 points in the second quarter. We couldn't score for 6.5 minutes, and I think not surprised that they, switched everything. We expected that. Scored 69 points in the second half against the same defense. I think we just got a little stagnant and didn't want to move. And you got to move. You got to play with force. You got to get to the next thing. Sometimes, and you'll have to ask the guys this. I think sometimes the expenditure of energy on one end, and you don't have it for the other end. I thought our guys were playing hard on defense in the first half, and then just the second opportunities, and that continued. During our comeback, there were a number of possessions where got to stop, but they ended up getting an offensive rebound and end up scoring on it, or there's a loose ball, they get the loose ball. There was a few plays there. The 88-80 to start the fourth, and we get 2 wide open threes, and maybe that's a momentum change. We just the big momentum changing sort of stretch we just couldn't muster, and a lot of that had to do with just the second opportunities.
JJ, Luka just 6 for 17 tonight, and then defensively it felt like they were targeting him a lot in pick and rolls, and even when you guys would maybe put him on someone else, they'd find a way to bring him into the action. What did you make of his night on both sides?
Wasn't his night.
JJ, in the first half when you guys weren't scoring, it seemed like a lot of that was missed threes, but it was like your shot profile seemed to change. Like I want to say like 8 and 9 foot twos, stuff like that. Like, what were they doing on that? Was that anything?
It was not what they were doing. It was what we were doing, and we showed them at halftime. The spacing, alignments, and having the wrong guy in the dunker spot, the wrong guy in the corner. It was not. Again, the structure of what we were trying to do against Reds, and what every team tries to do against Reds, is create the proper spacing and create the proper next guy and create the proper guys in the corners, and we just didn't have that. And you end up with turnovers, and you end up with a bunch of non-rim twos.
Is that disappointing, considering kind of the mentality that you'd kind of ask your team to have in terms of like, we need to play we need to build playoff mentality now, and that's focus and stuff.
Yeah,
like
we're still building it. We're not there.
You mentioned weeks ago, don't remember how long ago, but you mentioned that before the trade in February, you guys were really good against switching. Then you guys went through maybe a little bit of a lull against it. Were you surprised by how much you guys struggled against their switching, at least early on, before you guys seemed to recover and had the second half you did have offensively?
Not surprised. I wouldn't say surprised.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.
Hey, Luka, there was a several-minute stretch kind of late in the first, around the second quarter, where you guys were struggling to score, and it looked like a lot of it was against their switches. And we had part of this conversation before. What did you see from Golden State, and what did you feel like you guys maybe weren't doing that you then cleaned up in the second half?
I think they were playing good defense. I think we didn't play with enough trust, especially me. So that performance for me is unacceptable. When I play like that, it makes for the team harder to win. So just got to figure that out.
Luka, when you guys have made the push to cut it to 5 in the fourth, what do you think the difference was there that you weren't able to fully make the comeback?
I think we're playing with a lot of pace, causing confusion on the defensive end, slips, sometimes set it, sometimes slip it. So just making a lot of confusion with the switches, and that's how we scored 116 points.
Luka, we saw at the end of the Houston game, you took kind of a hard fall on your elbow, taped up today. It was wrapped up pretty big post game the other night. How's that?
It's fine. It's my left hand, so it's fine. I was shooting with the right. Look like left though.
And then, you haven't had many nights where like you said, the performance is unacceptable. When you're out there and you're searching for momentum and rhythm, I guess, how frustrated were you in the moment, and did you feel like it took you out of some stuff tonight?
I mean, very. It's always frustrating when you can, help your team like that. But I think, and it's not always about scoring. You can do some other stuff on the court, assists, rebound, defense, all of that. So, trying to help in other ways.
When speaking with JJ, he mentioned that during when you guys went through the offensive lull, some of it was due to not being as organized as you could be. Some guys not being in the right spots. When speaking with LeBron, he mentioned that the organization versus freelance is not just important for the team, but more so the guys like Dorian, Gabe. They feed off of the organization that you guys can create, and advantages you guys create. What needs to happen, or I guess who is it on for that organization to be there for a full 48 minutes and to not go through that kind of lull where it's not there?
I mean, it's a little bit on everybody, coaches, me as a point guard, I need to get everybody in their spots. So, being organized is very important for us. I think especially because of spacing that we have. And when we have good spacing, we're very tough to guard.
Hey, Luka, over here. What do you think how important it is to have such a kind of a game now and to be prepared in this kind of situation in the playoffs?
Yeah, it obviously felt like a playoff game. Obviously Warriors, since they acquired Jimmy, they've been playing unbelievable. So it was kind of playoff game, and now we see what kind of team they are. So maybe we can meet them, maybe not in the playoffs. So we just need to be more ready.
Hey, Rui, JJ mentioned that a portion of the first half, again, when Golden State was in the switches and you guys got a little bit stagnant. What do you think happened there, and why do you think that happens once in a while for you guys on the offensive end?
Yeah, I think, we had a good start. I think we scored 15 points in the first 5 minutes. And after that, we kind of was struggling. But I think it was because of our defense. We couldn't get stops. And they were getting all this second chance, the offensive rebound and stuff. So we weren't getting the rhythm, that was the problem. And the third quarter, we came back in the same way. But, yeah, they just didn't miss the shots, Pozinski, he made a lot of big threes. He made 8 threes. Yeah, that's it was a tough one. And then we got almost 24 seconds, and Draymond make threes in the last second. It was a tough one for us, and yeah, that was a game.
I know you guys always approach it one game at a time, but this does make things just a little tighter in the West. Is there any additional urgency for the remaining games of the season, Rui?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's every game, especially all those last games. I think we have 7 or 6, whatever the games. They are against the West Coast team, West Conference team. So we gotta get all this, and literally every game we change. It's just standings that are changing. So yeah, every game is important. Next game, and yeah, we just gotta get all this and then get ready for the playoffs.
Rui, the offense has struggled for stretches the last 2 games. Is that a byproduct of the opponent, or has it been struggles from within?
I mean, yeah. I think the team start kind of, we watching. They're watching films. They see a lot of, they try a lot of things with us, and they see our switching. They were basically 1-5 switching, and I think they kind of saw that was the, they can kind of have a chance. They have a chance to kind of close our offense. So we've been working on that, and we watch a lot of films. And today was okay. We did a pretty good job on that. But I think we have a lot of space to improve. Our offense. So we gotta watch the film and then come back for the next game or whatever the futures game.
Hey, Rui, for you personally, though, it was your best offensive game since you came back from the injury. It's also the most minutes you've played since then. Are you starting to feel like you're getting back into a rhythm?
Yeah, for sure. I think with my knee too, I'm still, recovering from it too. And yeah, it's a minutes and have a different lineup, solving in and out. So I think I'm trying to get it, to my rhythm. Yeah, for sure today was I had a pretty good start, and yeah, I think down the stretch, there's a lot of times that wide open, the shots, of course, playing with LeBron and Luka, they get a lot of attention. So I had to knock down those easy shots. So yeah, I think I gotta just keep doing what I've been doing and get back to my rhythm.
八村選手どうもお疲れ様です。制限時間は今どれくらいなんですか
？30分ですね。
30分で。で、まだ痛みを抱えたままのプレーっていう感じです。
そうですね。
その制限時間の中で今すごくシーズンも差し迫っているところですけれども、どんなふうに力を出す。
Austin, I think, had 9 threes tonight, and just over the last 3 years now you've been here, how have you seen him grow, to the point where a night like tonight is not a surprise to you?
No, I like his confidence, his aggressiveness, all that. We need him, playing like that. Of course, being aggressive. I think he's playing really free right now, and we love it. So yeah, I just want him to keep going.
Did you see that, like when you first got here? Do you feel like he's gotten a lot better?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. First time I got here, I didn't know him, but I think I think he was injured in the first game back against Milwaukee or something. That was the first time I seen him, and I was like, oh, yeah. So yeah, he's got it. So yeah, I think from since then, like literally, he's just going every game, every year, So yeah, it's fun to watch play with him. Yeah.
Thanks, Rui.
Thank you.